Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie, and today we are going to chat about high-end Magic cards. We're going to talk about getting scammed. We're going to do all the things, and we're going to show off cool couple little things that came in this week, a couple collections that I've been picking up and talking through. And we're going to go through how I go about selling higher-end cards, particularly cards above $200 is kind of like my threshold, because things do go differently, and I think a lot of people are worried about getting scammed as a seller when it comes to high-end cards, and rightfully so. So I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I avoid that. We'll get into that, but first I thought it would be fun just to look at some old cardboard. I know everybody's all about the flashy era these days, but I'll tell you what, some of these old Magic cards they still hit different, man. They still hit super hard. These are, I haven't even gone through these and priced them out yet. These are already purchased. I haven't gone through and checked conditions. I have authenticated them. I usually do that as soon as things get in. I didn't see any major issues, but really cool Mox Diamonds, Wheel of Fortune, and lots of revised cards. You know, one of the interesting things about old Magic these days is it's not, in my opinion, it's not like Legacy that's really pushing the values and the formats. It's not like what you would anticipate. Really, most of the purchasers, at least in my circles, of these awesome reserve list old cards are CEDH. And previous to this video, my last video on this channel, we talked about proxies and fake cards and that kind of thing. And the CEDH world, as heavy as it is in the proxying and accessibility, also, in my opinion, is the number one driving factor for games like this or for cards like this. And it's really amazing to see both of those things kind of go back and forth. And so, yeah, you know, the cards are awesome. We're in this kind of flashy era, but there is still a huge market for high-end cards, even though proxies are still prevalent and that kind of stuff. This is actually my first kind of sway into unlimited, by the way. I haven't even, like I said, I haven't finished looking at this. I wanted to make a video while my daughter was taking a nap today. Honestly, the top-down camera videos in this channel don't do super well, so hit that like button if you want this video to do better. But yeah, so let's get into selling cards. One of the biggest things I have found in my own life, man, unlimited it looks good. And one of the things I have found in my life is that when I get beat by a scam on a high-end card, it really demoralizes me. It really makes me sad, and rightfully so, right? Like losing money on anything. But that has been a hit, and I have gone through seasons of my life. Ooh, 7th edition Elvish Champion. I wish that was a legendary creature so I could build a commander deck with that thing. And I've wanted to give up after getting scammed, after losing out on a sale because somebody on TCG Player says that they, got sold a different card or whatever. And I know that it wasn't, and that kind of thing. I have often wanted to quit. It has often made me demoralized and wanting to move on from the online selling. But the number one thing I wanted to go through here is that is part of the process of selling cards. And if you want to be in this business, you kind of have to accept the idea that there are going to be days where things don't work out the way that you anticipated or the way that you wanted. And if you're like me, you're a control freak and you don't like that. But at some point, you have to just accept the idea that things aren't going to work out perfectly, and so you have to be able to just let it go. And the number one thing I want to say is when you're buying and selling high-end cards like this, you have to be willing to just move on, accept a loss, and let it go. And that can be really hard, but it's a mental game. It's a part of the mindset of selling that you have to just be willing to, maybe you buy something that loses value too. Like you have to be willing to just accept the idea that is part of the process and part of the game. Once you do that, there are a few things that you can do to protect yourself when selling a card like this. So we're going to use this Mox Diamond as an example. You will never ever see me list a Mox Diamond on my TCG Player account. I will never ever sell a Mox Diamond on TCG Player. Number one, I don't want to pay the fees, right? I don't like that. I much rather build a relationship with somebody and give them 15% off of the card than I would give TCG Player 15% of the sale. So that's number one. Number two, there's very little protection in place from a seller perspective. Now, this has changed a little bit. We actually had a thing happen this past week, not with a card. This is not focusing, not with a card this high end, but we had something happen last week where we actually got refunded by TCG Player. So they are changing the way they're doing things. And TCG Player ate the issue, basically. I don't know if it's because of our account or whatever. But if I ever had to sell this card, not locally or not to somebody, on Discord or whatever like that, I would 100% sell this card on eBay. Why? Because on eBay, they have authenticity guarantee, which protects not only the buyer, but it protects the seller. So I would sell this card and I would ship it to, it actually goes to CGC, and CGC authenticates it and then ships it on to the buyer. So there's this middleman process of which protects me from anything that could happen on the buyer side. A buyer saying they never got the package, or a buyer saying it was a fake card, or a buyer saying that it was in a different condition or broken or damaged or something like that. That is now CGC's responsibility or eBay's responsibility. And so by protecting myself, by not selling on TCG Player, you have opened up this door where you're able to sell some of these higher end cards. And I think that's why you see some higher price points on eBay. Now, here's a couple of things. If you're going to sell like that on eBay, just remember that it does not do international sales. So when you put this up, make sure you don't open up the sale for international, because if somebody from around the world purchases this and they do have an intention to scam you, then they are able to do so. And it doesn't go through the authenticity. I don't understand why they do that. I think that they should. I think they should expand that. Frankly, I think TCG players should also expand into that now that they're owned by eBay. I don't really understand why they don't do that. But any card over $200, or any card, in my opinion, that's like very commonly faked or very commonly targeted. So like, even a dual land, if it's like an HP or something, and it got under $200, I don't even know if that's a thing. I would probably still do that on eBay versus on TCG Player. But here's the side of this that you got to be committed to. You can't get married to selling on a platform with cards. You have to diversify. Like, I don't just sell on TCG Player. I don't just sell on eBay. I know this is significant work, but you have to build a platform to sell cards on all sorts of different avenues. So whether it be TCG Player for your lower end cards, your kind of middle range modern stuff, and then eBay for your high end stuff, but then additionally having Discord and Facebook and having reference pages available, and having the ability to post and then show somebody that you are trustworthy is very, very important in these games, especially if you can, if you can save 5% in fees by giving a 10% discount on Facebook for a Mox Diamond. That stuff really adds up, and cards like this move very quickly. If I put these cards up, actually, frankly, from this video, I'll probably get people reaching out trying to buy some of them. But if I put up these cards on Facebook, on Discord for a slight discount, even a slight discount, they would sell very, very quickly because they are so in demand. They are reserve list. There's not a ton of them floating around. It's not like super easy to get. And so if you diversify yourself into the different sales platforms, it goes a lot better. Now, if you're going to do that, in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion. You can disagree with me if you want in the comment section. On Facebook, on Discord, make sure you get to the point where eventually, after 10, 15, 20 transactions, you have a reference page that you can share, so that when people pay you, they will pay friends and family. It's very important because you can get scammed on the goods and service side as a seller. So you got to work your way up in this, get to a point where you have 20, 30 references on those marketplaces, on the Facebook and on the Discord, so that when you go to sell a higher end card, you can ask your buyer and say, hey, listen, here's my reference page. It's got 20 positive references. I'd like to be paid, friends and family. It solidifies this ability to do this without getting scammed. And that's very important. So those are the things I think are really important when sending or when shipping and selling these high-end cards, because the world of Magic is so big and hard to navigate in terms of different people and different environments. It's easy for people to come in and try to scam a buyer or seller. And so the last insight is to find your niche of how to sell this stuff. Find the way that works for you. Maybe it's Whatnot. Maybe it's going to a different marketplace like that, and really work at finding your availability to buy and sell these cards. Because when this stuff does come in, you have to have a way to get it to go out the door in order to go through cash flow and that kind of stuff. Anyway, let me know in the comment section what you think. It was just kind of a cool follow-up video to yesterday's video with the fake cards. Now today's showing like, okay, when you sell real cards, how do you prevent yourself on the back end of that from getting scammed? Hopefully you have yourself a fantastic day. Be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.